Hi, everybody. Today, I want to talk about something that a whole lot of women notice, but almost nobody really ever explains clearly. Why do your ADHD or autistic symptoms often feel worse before your period? Okay. And why is perimenopause can make it feel like your brain suddenly stopped cooperating and went off the rails. All right. If you've ever been feel like more distracted, more emotional reactive, more overstimulated, more forgetful, more exhausted, or even like your neurodivergent medications are suddenly not working for you, you're not imagining this. This is hormonally based. And I want to talk about this because this affects a lot of girls and a lot of women. We know 8% of women are diagnosed with PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and 40% of those approximately are neurodivergent. Okay, so that means that our girls, our teenagers, our young girls are suffering. We have suffered. And then we insert perimenopause and things really go off the rails. So today I want to talk about why this is actually happening so we can start naming it and we can start doing something about it. Okay. So why maybe a week before your period do you feel like everything gets harder? More irritable, can't focus, lose words. I hear girls tell me like they completely shut down, they can't get out of bed. Terrible things, right? Can potentially be happening if you have that PMDD. Um, why is that? It's because that week before your period is when your estrogen is at the lowest it will ever be all month long. Okay. What does estrogen do for us, ladies? Estrogen, it gives us more dopamine. Estrogen plays a role in serotonin, right? And then progesterone is playing a role. Progesterone plays a role in our GABA. Testosterone can also be playing a role here. It isn't random. Okay. This is brain chemistry. It makes complete sense, right? Estrogen affects the brain. It affects the dopamine pathways. And we already know that dopamine is deeply tied to attention, motivation, and executive functioning. So when estrogen shifts or becomes erratic, right, ADHD can feel pretty bad, or neurodivergence that can feel pretty bad. Um, and that's a part that we're never taught. Number one, a lot of us aren't even diagnosed till late, but we're never taught about this to begin with. We're never taught that our neurodivergence symptoms can change based on our hormonal changes. We all inadvertently know that, right? Because we know there's one week out of the month where things are disastrous, and something could be going wrong, but it's happening in the brain and due to hormonal fluctuations. And so if this is happening to you, can also happen really extensively in perimenopause, right? Because now in perimenopause, it's not just one week that the estrogen is going down, it's all the time, and estrogen is becoming more chaotic. So it could be, worse one week, but it could be worse all the time and making these things really hard to ignore. Really hard to ignore. And this is a problem. And guess what we do as women? We blame ourselves, right? We say, why can't I be more disciplined? Why am I behind? Why can't I function this week like I did 2 weeks ago? What is wrong with me? No, no, no. We're not meant to function the same every single day of every single week of every month. And that is where the power of understanding this goes, understanding the power of our brains and how they work. Because we shouldn't expect the same out of ourselves in luteal phase or in perimenopause as we do in follicular phase when our estrogen is higher, right? We need to understand that when estrogen is lower and progesterone is changing and testosterone is changing, that these have neurochemical effects on our brain. And how can we support our body and our brain to give them what they need? Okay, it is an important conversation, right? And here's the other piece of this, right? It's not always just hormones that play a role, right? So sometimes it's sleep, right? So sometimes it's hormones plus poor sleep. Sometimes it's hormones plus iron deficiency. Sometimes it's hormones plus low vitamin D or low magnesium. Sometimes it's hormones plus burnout, stress, thyroid problems, right? Sometimes it's all of this showing up in the same party in the same week uninvited. Okay, so it's more than just neurodivergence, right? And it's more than just hormones. It's all of the things, okay? So what do I want you to do with this? I want you to first track the pattern. Don't just track the symptoms, track the timing. Are you noticing that 10 days before your period, these symptoms are going crazy? Are you noticing that it's right after ovulation, things are starting? Are you having any good days? Are you having any good weeks? We have to start with pattern recognition, okay? So we can understand kind of what's going on. And that's including, do your meds feel less effective? This information matters. Then, number two, we need to stop moralizing what may actually be physiology, and it is physiology. If your focus is worse, your frustration tolerance is worse, and your emotional bandwidth is worse at specific times in the month, that's data. That is not a character flaw. And we need to protect our brain better when it's vulnerable. What we need is strategy. Okay, we need to get to be getting enough protein and getting enough sleep, and we need to reduce some sensory overload when we can. We need to make sure we're not overbooking ourselves. We need to make sure that we're aware of what the cycle timing is when we're planning the months ahead. Okay, we need cognitive deloading. We need to deload from our cognitive standpoint, right? So hormones matter, but so does our internal and external environment. So we need to be making sure our ferritins are okay, our thyroid's good, our B12 is good, our vitamin D is good. How's our sleep? How's our stress? Are we working out? It's multifactorial. Okay, it's multifactorial. But the most important piece of this is acknowledging the fact that this changes and that is actually physiology, brain physiology, what's happening. So we can actually say what we want to do and how to make this better. Okay. And this is why this is so important because women need to be stop being dismissed, given vague advice. We need to understand what's happening in our body so we can get the care that we actually need. We need to start listening to the information that the body is giving us. Okay. And then we can go from there. Okay. So if this feels like you, if you've ever been involved in this, come on over to the Substack. We would love to have you. We talk all things neurodivergent, midlife, generational change, PMDD, all the things. Come on over. The link is in the description. We'd love to have you there because this is biology and we can do something about it. Until next time, stay well.